we're so excited today. Today
Yes.
is one of the big topics. Whenever you're in a blended family and you have your kids and you're trying to connect and you're just trying to really bring your family together, but you're trying to parent your kids and raise them up to be successful, right? We want them successful whenever they leave the house.
That was the line that I would say all the time. I'm trying to raise successful children.
You
Yes.
want successful kids, but it can be hard, especially with the blended family dynamics, to be able to help them to really reach their full potential, to know how to do that. And so today we have a special guest with us. We have Margot Bisnow, who has written a book, and she is the author of Raising an Entrepreneur: How to Help Your Children Achieve Their Dreams. So this is such an amazing book. We're so excited. And just kind of a briefing. I mean, we're sitting here talking to a former FTC commissioner and chief of staff of the President's Council of Economic Advisors. I mean, for one, come on. So, we got that, but not only that, and I think she can definitely attest to this, but she has raised two successful entrepreneur children herself. So we're going to kind of dive a little bit more into that. So we just want to say welcome, Margot. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, so this is, man, I'm telling you, so good. We always like to start off, though, with all of our guests. This is a blended family podcast, and not all of the people that we interview are blended families, but we always love hearing your family dynamics since we are a family podcast. So could you tell us just a little bit, maybe, of your family makeup, kids, family, husbands, things like that?
Yeah, I have a husband. And I have two extraordinary boys, if I do say so myself. My younger son, Austin, is a musician. He started a band called Magic Giant.
Okay.
If you don't know it, you're missing out. It's really Magic Giant.
Magic Giant. I'm going to have to check. I'm a music.
Yeah, him and my stepdaughter, they love music.
Yeah, so we're going to check out Magic Giant.
And so I consider him an entrepreneur because he started a band.
Yeah.
So for me, an entrepreneur is anyone who starts something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a company. Starts something.
Yeah.
And so he started this wonderful band. They travel all over. They've been in Texas, and where you are and all over. They were just in Alaska.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I hope it's a little cooler up there.
Yeah.
Got to get a break from the heat.
And he's married to a wonderful woman who's a Canadian, who started some yoga studios called Modo Yoga.
Oh, nice.
And they live in Topanga Canyon in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And we see them as often as we can. And my other son, Elliot, started Summit, which is Conferences of Young Entrepreneurs, which is how I met all the people I interviewed for my book.
Nice.
And he's married, and his wife is from Miami, and they have an extraordinary little boy named Lumi, who just turned 3.5 yesterday. And he said, and the next one I'm going to be 4.
Oh, I love it.
That is such a fun age too.
And you'll have to tell everyone, because we've been talking about it on our podcast for a while, because we just became grandparents. So the grandparent name, that's a big deal. We were just talking before we started recording. Tell everybody what your grandma name is.
Yeah, my name's Go-Go.
Go.
Yes.
I love that. And that's so original and so unique, and it just sounds fun.
It's so fun. And he's just like, Go, I have to show you something. Go, I have to tell you something. So cute.
Oh, yes. I'm sure that's even a better role than the stuff he was reading off on the back of the book, right?
Much
be
better.
Go now. Yes.
Yeah, I'd much rather be Go than an FTC commissioner.
Well, you have, just in your personal life, you've accomplished so much. And, as we talk, you can raise your family and everything and be successful. But I think the most enjoyment that we have as parents is watching our kids just fulfill who they've been called to be and being successful. And you've done such a great job at that. And just with this book alone, this book, I love how you've taken not just your story, but you've got to talk to so many entrepreneurs and talk and share their family and their family dynamics and kind of how they got where they were. And, this is such a powerful book because we want as parents to help our kids achieve their dreams. We want them to have purpose in life and not just follow the ordinary mundane routine to where one day they wake up and they're like bored with life saying, what am I doing? Right. And so this book just really helps bring that out and challenges us and encourages us to do that.
Yeah, what's interesting about it, because I probably would never pick up just a raising entrepreneurs. Like, I didn't really ever label that. Like, if someone's listening now and they're like, well, I'm not really trying to raise an entrepreneur. Well, kind of you are, because you're trying to raise a child to follow their heart and their dream. And I remember spending hours trying to figure out how to make a successful child, how to do it right, and if I would have had something like this that had these steps, like in the book, you have 10 rules, right?
Right.
10 rules to go by. So can you just tell us just like an overview of what those 10 things, if someone's like trying to pull out that successful child that we're all looking to raise, what would those 10 things be?
And can I just say, I agree with you. The definition of success is not that you're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The definition of success is that you're filled with joy, that you've found your purpose, that you're doing something that you love.
Yes.
And that's a successful child,
Yep.
A happy child, a confident child, a creative child. It's
Yes.
not somebody who's doing a job they hate because they're making money and they think it's what they're supposed to be doing. So
good.
I think that's so important. And it's the same, I learned this kind of the hard way, but it's the same when your kid goes off to college. The right college, the successful college, is not the one with the name. The successful college is the one where your child will thrive.
Oh, I love that.
Oh man. Yeah.
That is good.
It's the one where your child will be happy and will feel so good and will, have a great experience. And I just think it's so important. I didn't grow up this way. I mean, this is, has been really hard for me to learn. And I wish I'd had this book when my kids were growing up.
Right.
That's exactly what I was saying as I was reading your book. Like, man, where was this when I was raising kids?
But I also want to say, so it was really important to me, speaking about success, like success is not some guy with $1 billion company.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one kind of success. Great. I have a couple of people in here with $1 billion companies, but it was super important to me to show that these are paths for anybody. And so I have a very diverse group, half men, half women, every race, every religion, every socioeconomic background, every kind of family, including lots of blended families.
Yes.
And big families, small families, big cities, small towns, born overseas, immigrant parents, here for generations, just every kind of family you can think of, and who've done like every different kind of thing, big companies, small companies, nonprofits, profits for purpose, activists, following their cause, artists, actors, musicians, film directors, all these, because they're all entrepreneurs. They're all people who start something. That's an entrepreneur to me. It's not some guy with a business. It's someone who started something. And so I think that's, you said, like, to people, ew, an entrepreneur, No, an entrepreneur is just someone who starts something, who's got the guts to start something and the grit to see it through. That's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that before I start going through the 10 rules.
Oh, I love that you distinguish that too, that, success is different to everybody and money never brings success. We've seen so many people that can be, have millions and millions of dollars and be completely miserable on the inside. And that's not what we're wanting for our kids. We want our kids to be fulfilled in here, because then they're going to be successful no matter what they do. And so I love that you distinguish kind of what success means and not being scared to get out there and do something instead of just falling into what everyone else tells them to do. So I love that.
And it was so important to me, like, to show all these different entrepreneurs' journeys, because some of them had parents right from the start that were, that's what you want to do. We love it.
Yeah.
And some of them had parents that were, that's what you want to do? and, and some of them were a hard sell. Some of them were, but we thought you were going to be a doctor, you know? You know,
Where
like
parents have their own dreams for their kids.
we thought you were going to be a lawyer, you know.
Yeah.
Well, in the business that we're in and talking to different people and experiencing this, we're seeing people that followed what the traditional dream was. And then they spent all that time, energy, money to do what they thought they were supposed to do. And then now they're successful doing what they love doing, and they're passionate about it, and you can hear it in their voice when they're talking about it. So I love that. And that's what we want. We want that for our children, right? We want them to be able to follow that. And so as I was like reading your book, I was just thinking like, man, it's not too late. You know, I say, I wish I would have had this when I was raising them, but we are in that season where our kids are young adults and they're going out trying to figure it out. None of them, except the one that we unofficially adopted, has really sought college as their option. You know, they're still trying to figure it out, but they're musicians, they're artists, fashion design, like all these things that they love to do. And so it's like, okay, how can we make sure we're following these rules? And it's like you're saying, where it's a lesson sometimes for us when they're like, well, I don't want to go to college, and an embarrassment as a mom, like, you don't want to go to college? You know, we worked so hard to try to like convince you that college was the right answer, you know?
No, I agree completely. And I always thought, like with the college admissions scandal, do you remember that, when the parents were bribing the coaches?
Yes.
And in 2019, and everyone at the time was saying, oh, these wealthy families, you know, they can do anything to get their kids into school and to help them. And all I could think of was these poor kids. What these parents were saying to them was, you're not good enough who you are. If the school knew the real you, they wouldn't want you.
They wouldn't
we have to pretend you're somebody different from who you really are. Because if you don't pretend to be different, they won't want you. And if you don't go here, you can't be successful in life. And I just thought, what a terrible, terrible thing to communicate to a child. Instead of saying, this is what you want to do, that's fantastic. I love that. You're going to be so great at it. And you're going to be so successful because you love it, and you're going to work hard, and you're going to figure it out. And it's like, it's the complete opposite. And back to what you were saying about college. So my dad was a professor. I grew up in college towns. Everyone I knew had a PhD. It didn't occur to me that it was a possibility that I'd have a child who didn't graduate from college. It just like wasn't anything that had ever entered my brain until my older son told me halfway through his junior year.
And how did you take that one?
That he was taking the next semester off, and maybe the semester after that, and maybe the semester after that. He kind of broke it to me gently, but
slowly. So yeah.
But I now think it was like the best thing he ever did, because 18 months after he left, he was so interested in entrepreneurship, and he cold called and invited 18 young entrepreneurs to spend a weekend in Utah. And that turned into Summit and became this huge, huge thing. And it took place a month before when he would have graduated, not studying classes he wasn't interested, that he had no interest in taking. And if he'd waited and graduated and waited 2 more years, the moment would have passed him by. I mean, one reason Summit was so successful was it was the very first time millennial entrepreneurs had gathered.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And so it just became a big, so, I mean, you know, parents, I mean, that we have to learn to let go of how we were raised. Like you're saying, like what worked when we were growing up, like our parents were like, you have to get a college degree, and you have to do this, and you have to be good in all your classes, and you have to be well-rounded, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to get this job that you're going to keep for life and retire from. And it's like, that world is gone, you know? And it's just, I mean, that's another reason I wrote this book, is I want to tell parents, like, you need to step back, and you need to say, like, hey, it worked for us, but whatever works for you, we're happy for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
for sure. And you see, it really has with technology has
Yeah.
totally changed the game. And college is not always the answer. Now, we're not disregarding college. It's perfect for some people, but for
Yeah.
some kids it's not. And so as parents, it's really being able to help encourage them to figure out their purpose and passion. Do you need college for that or do you not? And to be okay with those decisions and
Right.
to really help push them in a good direction that they're comfortable with. So yeah, no, so good. So could you share with us the 10 rules that you have that you put in the book? And I love how you did it because whenever you laid it out in the book, you didn't just like say, "Hey, this is the rule," but you shared stories. You shared stories of successful people, and one you have Blake Mikowski in there, and he has just always been a inspiration for me personally.
Mhm.
Just kind of his story, and I believe he kind of dropped out of college as well to kind of do Tom's and what he's doing. But just to hear that is so inspiring to hear people that follow their passions. So I really do. I love how you spelled it out in your book, and you just kind of went over the rules and use stories to illustrate that. So could you share with us those 10 rules?
Yeah, so I'll try to go through them in order. So the first, it's the one you're talking about, support a passion.
Hmm.
And every one of these future entrepreneurs had a passion outside of school. A lot of them were great students. I don't want to say, a lot of them breezed through Ivy Leagues, whatever, but they all had a passion outside of school. For
Yeah.
so many of them, it was sports.
Hmm.
But for others, it was music, it was art, it was drama, it was playing on the computer, it was video games, it was cooking, it was selling things, something. And
Yeah.
because they were passionate about this thing, which wasn't something their parents were pushing on them, it was something they had chosen. And because they were passionate about it, they worked really hard at it. And because they worked really hard at it, they got really good at it. And
Mhm.
because they got really good at it, they got really confident.
Yeah.
And, everyone says, oh, well, of course, that entrepreneur is confident because they're successful. No, they're successful because they're confident.
Love that. That is so good.
Yeah.
That is
And
good.
I think you become confident because you've mastered something that you've worked really, really hard at. You didn't get some participation trophy. You didn't have your parents make the coach give you extra, scream at the coach and have him give your kid extra time. You've worked really hard and you've gotten really good at your passion. And for some of these people, like the movie directors or the actors or the musicians or whatever, their passion is the same thing from when they were little. But a lot of them, their passion morphed over time.
Mm.
Some of them had 2 or 3 different passions growing up.
Yeah.
And that's fine, and it just sort of developed, it was acting and then it was storytelling, so whatever it became and whatever it was, the parents, just like we were with our kids, we didn't know anything about their passions, but you see how happy they are and how it makes them so fulfilled. And so anyhow, that to me, that's like the number one thing. It's just, and then the second thing was learning to compete and learning to win and learning to lose and learning not to fear failure.
Yeah.
My favorite quote is Billie Jean King, who says, "We don't call it failure, we call it feedback."
Ah, yes.
And
That is
one of the main differences between entrepreneurs and other people is entrepreneurs are not afraid to take risks.
Yeah.
And the reason they're not afraid to take risks is they were never punished for failure when they were growing up.
Well,
So they didn't, their parents, if they broke something or screwed up on something, their parents didn't punish them. They said, you have to fix it. What did you learn from it? What are you going to do differently next time?
yeah.
And, another thing that's so important about this, they got punished. They got rewarded for effort, not for success.
Okay.
Because if you just reward a kid for success, they cheat on tests, right?
Yep. Yep.
You want to reward a kid for effort. And if they didn't do, you don't want to only be proud of them if they made the winning basket. You want to be proud of them if they worked their hardest and did their best.
Yeah.
And, and you can say, like, do you think you did your best? Or do you think, you could have tried harder? Or do you think you could have prepared more or whatever? But always never to scold them if they failed.
Yeah. Oh, and I love that because it really is. It's one of those that we can, as parents, we talk about this a lot, that we want them to be successful, right? We want them to be, we don't want them to fail. And so we can take a lot of those safety nets away from them and help encourage or push them in a sense without allowing them to fall within boundaries, and then encouraging that to be a motivation. Not
Right.
like, hey, you're a failure in life, but hey, what did you learn? How can you get, how can you turn this around and be successful, or move into a better direction, and really learn and grow from that experience. So that is powerful. I love that tip.
I was just listening to something that Tim Ferriss was saying, who's someone that is an old friend of my son's. And he was saying on a podcast that he always likes to ask people, what was your biggest failure?
Mm,
Because he said, with a failure, you find out that it's something that you don't necessarily get what you want, you could get what you need.
mm,
And lots of times your failure opens up a door.
yeah.
And one of the people in my book, she says, in your wounds lie your gifts, in your failures lie your opportunities.
Wow.
And I love that.
That's beautiful. I do. Man, it's
Yeah.
so good. But it's so true, and it's in especially in today's generation, or in any generation really, failure can really beat you down, and you can let that feel like you're never going to amount to anything. And that's so sad, because just like you said, that should be like a springboard. If we could allow failure to be that springboard to where
Yeah.
we're launching off into something else, something better that we have learned and grown from. Man, such power in that. And just as parents, being able to teach our kids that's a challenge, right?
Right. Because if you're afraid to fail, you're afraid to take risks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
as
if
a
you're
mom, like I was afraid to fail, so I was afraid to let my kids fail too. If you don't know, then how do you teach your kids that? So that is an important lesson.
Well, like
Yeah.
you were saying, that as parents, being able to provide that safety net to where if you do fail, it's okay.
Mhm.
Instead of beating them up to where now they're scared to try anything, they're scared to even leave the house because we've told them just by our actions that that's not good. You're not good enough. You're not going to be good enough. And so being able to provide a safe place for them to fail like that, man, such inspiration. So
And
good.
so many of them, like John Chu, the movie director, Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Love that movie.
And so he said, but so many of them said, I was never afraid to take risks because I always knew if I failed, I could go home.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
I never had to move back home, but I always knew if I needed to, my family would be there for me.
wow. It's so powerful.
And so, like you're saying, it gives you that safety net, that emotional safety net.
Yes. So good. So good. Man, love that. that alone is worth its weight in gold.
Yes.
Yay. So then the next one is don't worry about straight A's.
Ah,
So that's what we were talking about before. I'd say, a third of these kids were great students, breezed through Ivy League schools, got advanced degrees, was just terrific. But about a third of them ended up either not going or dropping out of college. And a lot of them were miserable in school.
yeah.
And I think it's a lot of times it's because the teachers just don't get these kids.
Yeah.
Because the teachers like kids who color between the lines.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids, trust me, I'll bet Elon Musk's teachers didn't like him.
I'm sure.
I bet he questioned everything.
Yeah.
I'll bet he
Like, wait a minute.
questioned that. Yeah, another one person in here, Dhani Jones, who's just like an off the chart guy, has done so many amazing things. And his mom said, like, he just annoyed the teachers because he questioned everything. Another kid, Adam Braun, who started Pencils of Promise, he's built like hundreds of schools around the world. His mom got a call from his teacher at one point saying, he has trouble sitting still. And his mom said, well, couldn't you just put his chair in the back row? And then if he has to stand up, it won't bother people. And the teacher was like, oh, I guess so. Okay. And then another kid, Benny Blanco, who's got 25 #1 songs, Diamonds for Rihanna and I Kissed a Girl. I can't even count them all. East Side with Halsey. I just, songs for Justin Bieber and just a million. He's 25 number one songs. He's been songwriter of the year. His mom said she got a call every week from his kindergarten teacher complaining that he wouldn't sit in the circle. And she said, so, which is like such not a normal parental response. Most parents would be like, oh God, I got to fix this.
Yeah,
but
let's
she was
change.
like, so, I mean, I love that. So
it reminds me, because when I was teaching pre-K, we would have a award ceremony at the end of the year, and I was the only one teaching it, and my kids didn't get to go with the big kids awards. So every year I would do a certificate of awesomeness, and it was for those kids like you're talking about. I would find something to highlight. And that thing that I did, which I just came up with it because my kids were not great at sitting still either. They both been diagnosed ADHD. And so school was hard for them. And so it was this thing that I was very passionate about, just highlighting for these kids. The parents would come up to me and just with tears in their eyes, like, thank you. You understand him, or you got him, or you let her be her, all those things I would highlight and pull that out. And that's what you're talking about here. It's not about the straight A's, because that's for the person that can sit down and follow rules.
Right.
And we're not just trying to raise kids that can grow up and follow all the rules. Right.
Right. And hey, if you have a kid who wants to, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But if you have a kid who doesn't want to, that's okay too. It took me a while to realize this, but
Well, our education system has been so in a box for so long, and I think now we're starting to see it start to grow and expand a little bit. But yeah, it doesn't meet everybody and their different personalities, and just because they can't fit in that box doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. That they're beautiful the way that they are, and we got to understand that and encourage that. So so good. So Don't worry about straight A's. I love that. So what's number 4?
Hey, B-Fam. We'll be back in just a minute. Check this out.
So, Scarlett, what's your favorite thing about summer?
If I had to pick just one thing, I'd say having fun with my family. I feel like summer is the easiest time to go on new adventures. We laugh more together, create more memories, stuff like that. What about you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Me too. I love the beach, family hangouts, barbecuing outside. I can smell it. Hanging out by the pool. It's crazy because it always seems that everyone gets along so much better when we're doing things we all like doing.
I agree. That's exactly why we created Enjoy the Journey.
For sure. We found out that having fun together as a family gives you that joy-filled home that brings healing and keeps your family healthy, both mentally and physically. Then we lean on what God says in Proverbs 17:22, that a joyful, cheerful heart brings healing to both body and soul. But the one whose heart is crushed struggles with sickness and depression. We found that when our family is having more fun together, all the blended family challenges weren't near as bad. Our family becomes stronger, healthier. So we try to create more of those opportunities, which led us to create Enjoy the Journey. This is a new way that guides your family through finding more things your family enjoys doing together.
It really does. And it's so easy to do. I think the great thing about it is that it helps you find more family things that you like doing, but it also guides you through finding more fun things for your marriage, more fun things for each one of your kids, and it's especially helpful for the step-parent relationships. It really shows you that the more fun you have, the less problems you'll see.
It walks your family through finding more things you like doing in a fun way, and it sets you up to walk away with a great plan that your family will love. So no matter how long you've been a blended family, this meets you where you're at. It really is a fun journey that your family will be so glad you went on. So check it out. The link is in the show notes, and let your family enjoy the journey today. Now back to this episode.
Number 4 is mentors can be great. And so many of these people, especially because they often weren't appreciated by their teachers. When their parents found a mentor outside of school, I mean, sometimes it was a football coach or a coach in school, a sports coach or something, but sometimes it was one particular teacher. Sometimes it was somebody outside of school. The guy, Benny Blanco, who I mentioned, his mom found a music teacher out of school who said, "This is the most talented kid I've seen in my 20 years of teaching."
Oh, wow.
Another kid, Jeff Marks, who wrote Avenue Q, and his school wanted to counsel him out because his teachers were so annoyed at him. One of his teachers said, his math teacher, I'm going to fail him because he never turns in his homework. And Jeff said, I get straight A's. Doing the homework's a waste of my time. I mean, it's a kid like this. Do you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
And his mom found a teacher, a music teacher outside of school, who said, this kid is the most perfect pitch I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
and some of these kids, it's their coach. I mean, for my kids, both of them had teachers, some teachers who liked them and some teachers who didn't. For my older son, it was his tennis coach. And for my younger son, it was a football coach, but it was also the band director. And so you find these people who love your kids, and it just, and it's so valuable because, like, if it's sports, then it's the coach saying, I'm sorry I didn't put you in because you didn't work hard enough this week. Right? It's not the parent.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, especially during those teenage years, because we've been youth leaders for a long time. And during those teenage years, they don't want to listen to their parent anymore. Their parent, even if they're saying the exact same thing as this mentor, they'll receive it from the mentor where they won't receive it from their parents.
Yeah.
So that's a great one.
Yeah. Powerful.
Right. My older son, it's this guy, Martin Blackman, who now runs tennis for all of youth development for all of USTA. And Martin told him and my son fell in love with tennis. And he said, if you want to be a champion on the court, you have to be a champion off the court.
Yes.
And it's everything you eat and every way you treat people and every aspect of your life. And my son was like, okay. Like, thank you, Martin.
But such powerful advice, and that just gives kudos to the mentors out there and challenges other people. The difference that you can make in another child's life, just that encouragement. And just with a word like that could set them on a path for, man, just really reaching their purpose and success in their life. Wow.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I know, having somebody like that. My younger son was the only music major who was on the football team in college. And at one point he had turned 21 and somebody asked him if he'd go to the liquor store and buy him some alcohol. And my son, who doesn't drink, said, my coach said nothing good can come from going to a liquor store. And I just thought, like, wow, like, what are they going to say? That's what the football coach says. Okay. And
Yes.
if he had said, oh, my mom and dad,
My mom,
it's
Like,
just
oh, your
doesn't have-
mom.
Yeah,
Coach
it
said
doesn't-
that. Okay. All right.
Stop being a baby.
Anyhow, the
Oh,
next
man.
was instill confidence. And we've talked about that a bit before, but it's having your kid get really good at something and knowing that they've gotten good and knowing that they've mastered something of their own choosing and trusting them to make decisions and supporting them in their decisions. So, we had talked about that before. It's just like the most important thing as your kid grows up.
Yeah.
And we've been in youth ministry for, probably 10 years plus. And really what the biggest thing that I pulled away was whenever you gave these kids more responsibility, they always stepped up to the plate and they surprised me every time. And it's like, as parents, especially our own kids, is we're scared to give them that responsibility because we're scared they're going to fail. And, we don't want to we don't want to set them up for that. But every time they impress you, and it's like, man, okay.
Yeah.
And so it really is, that's such a powerful
That
thing.
builds that confidence in them.
Yeah. So good.
So the next is embrace adversity. And it's kind of like what you're just saying. So many parents try to protect their kids from adversity.
Guilty.
But adversity is part of life, and you need to teach your kids to be resilient because they're never going to go through life without adversity.
Yeah.
People they love are going to get sick, and
Yeah.
people they love are going to lose their jobs, and they're going to lose a job, or they're going to, it's just stuff happens. And it's just so important to teach kids, this happened, we're going to get through it. This is how we're going to deal with it, to be honest and forthright. And it was amazing to me, actually, how many of these people actually experienced enormous adversity growing up.
Mm.
10% of these entrepreneurs had a parent who died before they graduated from college,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
which is like shocking. Like, I mean, I hardly knew any parents who died before my, kids graduated from college, and so many
Yeah.
others, their parents were really, really sick, and or their parents lost their jobs, or they lost their money, and the parents were just, we're going to get through this. We're going to move on. This guy, Brian Meehan, who's CEO of Blue Bottle Coffee, and he grew up in Ireland, and his dad had lost his job, and he said he saw this letter on the table, and it said, your family is in arrears £12,000 for their private school.
Oh, wow.
And the dad, and he said that he looked up the word arrears. He didn't know what it meant. And that was the first time he knew what was happening with their family.
Wow.
And his parents explained it to him. And his dad went to the headmaster and said, we're going to have to take the kids out of the school. And the headmaster said, we'll cover their tuition. You're not taking these boys out of this school.
Wow.
And he said the first thing he did when he got a huge investment in Blue Bottle was he set up a scholarship at that school in the headmaster's name.
Wow.
And he sends 2 kids to that school every year to say thank you.
Oh man.
love
that
that
just brought
story.
chills.
I know. I was
to
like,
my
don't
arms.
cry. Don't cry.
I have so many stories in this book that will make you laugh or cry.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's one just on that same topic, and I can't remember who it was, but she had lost everything, felt like a failure, and she called her mom up to tell her what had happened. And the mom's like, it's going to be okay. I've lost my money multiple times. And
Right.
she's like, wait, what? And then she had seen her mom do that, but for herself experiencing that, she felt like she had hit bottom, or, she was a failure in that area. And the way her mom handled it, because her mom had experienced it herself. So.
Right. No, there's so many wonderful stories about these people. There's another one of my favorites, Nyla Rogers, who started Mama Hope, and her mom was really sick. And when Nyla she was raised by a single mom, and when she'd gone off to college, her mom, who sort of empty nest, sort of adopted a boy in Africa that she was just, sending a little money to, and she'd never met him. It was always her dream to meet him, but she got too sick and she had died, and she'd never been out of the country, actually.
Oh, wow.
And shortly after her mom died, by coincidence, Nyla's, a friend of hers mother, was leading a school trip to Africa and needed somebody to help chaperone, and asked Nyla if she wanted to come. And it turned out it was in this kid's village. And she wrote to, really, I can barely get through this story. She wrote to the sponsoring agency that had, set up the sort of, whatever adoption thing, the honorary adoption or whatever, and told them she was coming. And when she arrived, there were like 500 people there singing Amazing Grace and holding like a memorial service for her mother. And they said that, and Nyla hadn't even known this, and her mother had no money. And they had always done, service work on holidays, even though they had very little. They were always giving back, and she hadn't known. But this boy Bernard had said to her mom, if only there was like $1,500 and we could start a community bank in this village. Her mom didn't have $1,500, but she decided to go out and raise the money, and she had done like bake sales and stuff, and she sent them $1,500. They'd started a community bank. Like 10 women had started job companies. They'd all repaid the loans. They'd given it to other people. And right then and there, Nyla said she knew that that's what she was going to do with her life, was and call it Mama Hope, and, go to communities and say, what do you need? And then try to raise the money. And she's like done, projects now in like 12 countries all over the world and stuff. Just
Man,
so
that's
beautiful.
so
Yes,
inspiring.
so powerful. Yes, so
Golly.
powerful.
Yeah,
So beautiful. There's so many stories like this.
Yeah, no, it's like choking you up.
Anyhow, the next one is Nurture Compassion. And I'm sure this is one that you guys are really familiar with, but just teaching children that it's not just how you feel, but, how others feel and what you're doing for the world. And none of these people said that what they do is to make money. If you want to make money, go to Wall Street. All of these people, they're trying to make a better product, to make people's lives better. They're doing a better service to make people's lives better. They're making better music, or especially Magic Giant.
No, and it's so true. And I think I'd mentioned where you interviewed Blake Mikowski, and that's what stuck to me, and that to me is a real entrepreneur, one who gives back, and it's not selfish. It's going out there trying to make a difference in the world, and trying to bring hope and just connections, and that is successful. And I just that's my heart, is whenever you give more, you're more fulfilled. And
Right.
that I've seen that over and over again, and being able to hear these in the successful entrepreneurs stories as well, that is, that's the key. That's such a big key to life, is giving and pouring back. You receive
Yeah.
so much from that.
Well, and
Right.
it kind of goes hand in hand, like with the adversity, like when they experience something like that, like the young lady who lost her mother, that's a lot of time the thing that sparks that compassion, because you have firsthand experience what it's like to lose or to go without or whatever. So that adversity that we're trying to save them from, we don't want them to ever fail. We don't want them to feel what it's like to be without, that we're trying to keep our kids from doing that. But that's the thing that also is what sparks the compassion for them to be able to go and help and serve and do. That's something that you experience by going and living and doing, not just necessarily teach them like you should be kind to people.
Right. Right. Actually serving and helping and contributing. But one of the things I love about what Blake did, and which I think is kind of underappreciated, Tom's was the first one-for-one company where
Yes.
when you buy that product, one is given to someone in need. Like my glasses are Warby Parker. You buy these glasses and sight is given to someone in need. Like there's so many wonderful companies now that do this.
Yes.
Bombas socks. I buy Bombas socks. You buy a pair of their socks and they give socks to someone in need, stuff like that. And it's just, it was beautiful that he started that whole thing. Like no one had even thought of it before.
Well, it goes against business. It goes that business mindset. And I think that's why his story always stuck to me. And it really did to me. I think it changed business, because it really did. The way that we view what business is, that it doesn't have to be this money hungry mentality, but whenever you do a giving mentality, you're going to be successful. So no, good stuff. So nurturing compassion. So what is number 8?
Number 8, which I know you guys will love, is be a great family. And
yes.
And family, of course, there's no definition of what a great family is.
I love that you included that in the book.
But a great family is loving everyone in your family, supporting everyone in your family, and being there for everyone in your family. And that was just the most important thing. And every one of these people, every one of them said something like, my family was always there for me. And a bunch of them were in blended families, and they all said something like this woman, Alexis Jones, who started I Am That Girl, she said, and she had like stepbrothers and half sisters and half brothers. And like, this is like a
crazy
really
dynamic
extended family. And she said, like, her mom always said, like, family is family. We're here for everybody.
Amen.
And we support each other unconditionally because we love everyone and we're here for everyone. And everybody, whether they, it was just a single mom and one kid or a humongous blended family, they were all there for each other all the time.
Yes. Oh, blended family. I hope you grab that one right there. Yeah. Because family is family. And that, man, whenever you are supporting each other, I mean, there's nothing more beautiful when your kids feel safe to be home. That's amazing. So
and there's one of the stories in the book where it's the girl, she's saying that her stepdad is the one that gave her that opportunity and just really allowed her to experiment in this area, and how much that meant to her, spending time in his shop afterwards. Like she had never really seen anyone live life like that until she had encountered her stepdad. And so that caught me thinking and looking through your book. And so I'm glad you included it in a chapter, because I was like, well, I wonder what the percentage are. Most of these entrepreneurs, like nuclear families that have their mom and their dad still and everything, went to a nice school and had a lot of money. And so I love that you break it down in that chapter about family.
No, and that's what we were saying before, like just so diverse in every single way, like, because it was just so important. Like, I think that's really key. It's not just one kind of family that produces these entrepreneurs. And so the next rule, which I know you'll also love, show them there's something bigger.
Yes.
So none of these people were brought up that, like they were the most important person in the world and they were the only, there was nothing else beyond them. And they all were brought up with a lot of faith. Most of them not all in one religion, in different religions. But they were all really, like, it really surprised me how big a part faith played in it for most of these people.
Yes.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, that's we can't say enough because we are Christians here, and we know that it was our faith that kept our family together. Is being able to look at God for us, being able to look at Him. He was the glue that kept our family together. When blended families, we have so much challenges that can come up that can really tear us apart. That's why second and third divorce rates are so high, and so crazy out there. But yeah, it was the looking to something bigger.
When as a parent, I couldn't let go except for the fact that I trusted God that much that He was going to take care of my kids in whatever path they chose. So it was me as a parent being able to say, okay, I'm going to step back and I'm just going to let this play out the way that it's intended to play out for them.
Yep.
But I really like that, whatever their religion was, there were devout, people who were raised Jewish, and there were people who were raised Christian, and one guy was Baha'i, and, one person was Muslim. They're like different faiths. And some people were just raised just with strong values and, God, but not like a organized religion. I just thought it was really interesting to me that I wouldn't have predicted that.
How much that played a part in their success.
Yeah, in all of them, for all of them. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And that's a great takeaway just from the book, just knowing that's gold within itself. So, wow. Good stuff.
And then the final one lead
more.
by following, which is just, and we were talking about that earlier, just see where they want to go and then support it.
Yeah.
And tell them how proud you are of their success in that, and tell them, they're going to be okay, and even if it's not what you had in mind, even if it's not how you were raised, or even if you don't think that that's like as
Best idea.
You might be biting your tongue behind,
Right. A lot of them, their parents were really, but all the parents, they got there eventually. They were, if you love this, we're proud of you. We support you. We trust you. We're there for you.
Yeah.
And gave the kids the confidence to do what they had in their heart.
Yeah. But how encouraging is that? I know just personally to be able to, my parents were always that way. They were very supportive, and I was blessed in that sense. But being a child, if we put ourselves in our child's shoes, how important that is to know my parents are always believing in me. They, no matter what I do, no matter what I go out, and they're going to tell me, that they love me and they're encouraging me the whole way. How far does that go, in a child's life, just doing that? So good stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I was just going to say, one of my favorite stories is John Chu, the movie director that I mentioned before. So he started doing movies when he was like in 4th grade, and it was just
really
became his passion in life. And he was in high school. He was supposed to be asleep, and he was doing a movie on his computer, in his room. And his mom came in and said, "Put that away and go to sleep. You have to be ready for school. This is such a waste of your time." And he burst into tears. He said, "You can't make me stop. I love this. It's what I want to do for my whole life." And she said, "Go to sleep. We'll talk tomorrow." And she picked him up at school the next day. She had been to the library. She had like 10 filmmaking books. She said, "If you want to do it, be the best." And
wow.
And he said from that point, like, his parents were the most supportive. He went to USC Film School. He did a film for his final project, which he said got him an agent and everything. And his parents ran a restaurant, Chef Chu's, in Palo Alto. And his mom said, "So what are you serving when you show your film?" He said, "Huh?" And she said, no. And she said, like, his mom and his sister and his, his sister-in-law, they all came down and they all cooked for a week and served food at his, like this little premiere he had when he was
Wow.
in school, and
Wow.
just, so
Yeah.
just support your kid,
Yes.
Mhm.
even
Oh,
if it's
man.
like kind of takes a gulp.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like that story you share. I mean, at first it was like, no, but it's a waste of time. But then you go back and reflect a little bit. And yeah, what powerful advice, though. If you're going to do this, be the best. I mean, wow. I mean, that alone is like, okay, mom. But then not just that, but going that extra mile and actually getting resources for their child. I mean, wow, that's even, man, that's like parent gold star right
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
man, love that, man. 10 great rules. So we could dive so much deeper into this, and man, this has been so great. There have been so
Thank
many
you.
good
Yay.
nuggets that have
Yay.
come from this.
Yes.
I'm serious. This is amazing, and I think every parent should read it. I mean, such a blessing, full of such inspirational stories. So
yeah, because in the book, she has like the secret of all secrets and the rule of all rules. So you're going to have to get the book to find out what those are.
but tell us, where can our listeners get a copy of this?
Just
Where can
Amazon,
they find it?
Amazon, I think, is the easiest.
So Amazon, awesome.
And
We'll put
there's a paperback, there's an ebook,
Okay.
and so I have 200 photos in here. I have a photo from when they were young and a photo from when they're today, for every story. And
Okay.
in the book, they're black and white, and in the ebook, they're color. And I also
Okay.
did an audio book. So if you want to listen to it, there's no photos.
Oh, love it.
But you
Hey,
can
we're
listen to
audiobook
it.
people too.
But
And
you
a
can listen to it while you're exercising or something.
There you go.
We're big like on social media, Instagram people. And if do you have any like social media platform where you're pouring out any of this, or that you hang out on a regular basis that our listeners can find you on?
Yeah, mostly it's Instagram at Margot Bisnow.
Okay.
Instagram. Okay. Sweet. We'll put that link there as well. So what inspiration. I just
Thanks.
seriously, I want to thank you for sharing this and taking the time to put all this together, to do all the interviews, to get the stories, to compile it. I
Yeah.
know this is going to be such a blessing for parents.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That
well,
means so much to hear that from you guys.
well, we honestly do thank you, and like I said, this has been such a wonderful time together. So we're so thankful that you shared that with us.
Yes.
Thank
And
you
just-
so
Appreciate it.
much.
Just this community. I'm telling you, enjoying your blended family.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know you're walking away from this conversation going, oh my goodness, it challenges me to be just a good parent, or a parent that's really supportive of my kids.
Yeah.
And wow, and what that could look like. How I know as parents, we can always be better, right? We can always learn things and grow more and just be more encouraging. And this book just really helps do that. So
And just defining what success is and realizing,
Yes.
like Margot says, that it's not a money thing. And we know that that is our heart as parents, is to raise children that are successful. And so to see success looks different for every one of our kids, but we play such a valuable role. It could be a biological parent, a step parent, even a grandparent, whatever, but we have that valuable role that we get to pour into our kids. And this book has these tips in here, how we can do that in a better way. So love it, love it, love it.
Yep. Thank you
Thanks
so much.
Thank you. This is great.
Well, enjoying your blended family. We're going to go ahead and end, but we are so thankful for all the wisdom that has come out of this. So make sure you go get your copy. Now we'll have the link in the show notes. So be sure to get that. And man, let it just be a blessing for your family. Let it be a blessing for your kids. And man, just good stuff. Good stuff. So we love you, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has been a blessing and encouraged your family journey.
Make sure you stay connected with us and join our weekly Blended Family newsletter. We send an email out every Friday morning full of support and encouragement.
When you join, we also want to give you a free gift, so go get yours today. The link is in the show notes below.
Have an amazing day, and remember to enjoy the journey with your blended family, and we'll see you on the next episode.